I would like to introduce our second speaker, and her topic is staying clean must come first. Could y'all please help me welcome Kat?
Hi, I'm Kat Manatic. Wow, this is such an honor, and it's the perfect size room for me. Wouldn't want it any bigger. I didn't think I was nervous when I first sat down, but I'm pretty sure I am because I messed up the Serenity Prayer, and I've been here long enough that that shouldn't be happening. But I really am so grateful to be here, and now that I started speaking, like, I feel comfortable. And Marian, thank you so much for sharing. I had so many Me Too's. Like, this is such a beautiful program, and I'm so grateful that it's a part of my life and, like, continues to be every day. I'll say up front that staying clean must come first, or recovery must come first. To me, that doesn't mean you have to love any of the other important things in your life any less. It doesn't mean that I don't love my mom as much as I love recovery. But the thing is, if I want a healthy relationship with my mother, I have to prioritize recovery in order to have the things that I love. So I'll say that now, and, like, that's just the way I view it. And, you know, I'm taught a lot of things and, like, guided a lot in this program, but, like, I get to pick and choose, like, what those things mean to me. So, like, my understanding of this program is that it's a spiritual program, and, like, what sits right for me and, like, works for me, and I get to hear other people's experiences, and I can take what I hear that I think will work for me and try it out and, like, apply it in my life, and even take the things that I'm like, that would never work for me, and then it works out for me. And to meet people from all walks of life, and you'd think at first hand that you could have nothing in common with them, and that's what I thought when I first came in the rooms, like, how would I have anything in common with these people? Like, I was young when I came in, and I was around people who have experienced much more life than I had, so I found ways to exclude myself. But, like, even if we don't share the exact same experiences to the T, we share a lot of the feelings. We share the hopelessness. We share the pain. And I find, like, when I heard this for the first time, it changed my entire perspective about staying clean. Like, anything you go through in life, no matter how horrible it is, there's most likely someone in Narcotics Anonymous that has gone through the same thing and was able to get through it clean. So how dare you think that you can't get through anything clean? You know, like, I no longer have a reservation to, you know, I'm bringing up my mom again. If my mom died, I don't have to use. And she's going to die at some point. And there are going to be people, even in this room, that I can talk to and ask how they got through that and hear those experiences. So staying clean has to come first in any part of my life if I want the life that I have, the beautiful life that I have, to continue on the projection that it's going. And, like, I'm not saying that my life is perfect, but, like, compared to when I got in here, like, I had nothing. I was so done. And I had nothing going for me. And today I have a lot going for me. And it's not money, property, and prestige kind of things. It's that spiritual love that I have. Like, the people I have in my life, like, they're relationships I never could have dreamed of. They are so meaningful to me, and they're the most important thing to me, besides recovery. But yeah, I'll just, like, get into, like, my story a little bit and, like, weave in, like, throughout the process, like, how I had to prioritize my recovery. So at the end of my using, not like the very last time I used, but when I started to, play around with that I'm an addict, I was dealing with severe mental health issues, and I was severely suicidal. And I wound up in a psych ward, and I had yet to admit I had a drug problem. And they had asked me, the professionals there had asked me, like, do you abuse drugs? And I finally admitted yes. I mean, it was after they already drug tested me, so it was like pointless at that point. And they kind of just told me, well, you probably want to stop if you want to start feeling better. And in my head, I'm like, yeah, that makes sense, but how do I stop? And I opened up a lot in the group therapy, and it was actually another patient that had recommended Narcotics Anonymous to me. I had known about the other fellowship, but I guess I just didn't know that there was a narcotics version, and like felt like that, you know, that could work. It's free and non-committal. Sounded great to me. And so the day I got home can I just say, it's funny how it worked out that way, that like the solution was brought to me by another person in pain, because that's like just kind of how this program works. Like, I'm not saying like professionals can't help you, and I'm not saying anything bad about like medical professionals. Y'all are doing a great job. But like I didn't hear the message until I heard it from someone else that was hurting or had experienced something like this. And so I went to a Narcotics Anonymous meeting the first day I got out, and I cried when I said I was an addict. I hadn't cried in front of people in so long. That was so embarrassing. And then it was a 9th step meeting. And obviously I knew nothing about the program. So what I decided to do when I got home was send out a little text, a little amends text, and tell someone that I hurt very badly that I'd like to make an amends. And it went really poorly. He said, "Fuck you, never talk to me again." And I used that night because that did not feel good. No matter how great it felt to be accepted by a room of people, and like be given a white key tag to surrender, to be hugged for the first time and feel like they actually cared that I was there. Like that didn't matter in that moment because I was still going through all that pain. And basically it went like that for my early recovery. I didn't follow a single suggestion. I did whatever I wanted, you know. I didn't keep doing the steps out of order. I mean, obviously I wasn't even doing a step. No one would ever just make an amends the first day of being in an NA meeting, except for me. And, you know, I didn't follow the 9 suggestions. I didn't have a sponsor. And I just kept going out and coming back to, to get a cup of coffee, to just sit. I would go to the 7:30 a.m. New Brunswick meeting, early morning serenity, just to sit and start my day and say, today maybe I can do this. And again, the second I would leave the meeting, it would be on me, and I would make the wrong decision. Finally, I ended up getting a sponsor, and I thought she was the coolest thing ever. She had her life together, and she had a family and a house and all the things I wanted, and I couldn't believe she agreed to be my sponsor. And like at that point, I didn't want to disappoint her, so that was good, It's like I found a reason to stay clean because I didn't want it enough for myself yet, right? I couldn't admit that like what I needed to do was to stay clean. But I could find some external reasons to get some 30 days every now and then. But she told me, if you pick up, call me first. And I was like, that's a crazy suggestion. Why would I ever do that? And so one night I was out in Philadelphia, and my friend asked me, "Are you still doing that sober thing?" And sorry for using that word. But immediately I was like, she's not asking me this unless she has something that I want. So I said, "Yeah, I am, but what you got?" And she said, exactly what I wanted to hear. And so I said, hold on, let me make a call. And I call my sponsor, she doesn't answer. So that's a green light, of course. And we go ahead, pick it up, and she calls back right before we're about to take it. And, I tell her what I'm about to do. Obviously, it's too late. There's nothing she can say to stop me. And, she knows she's powerless over the situation, and she knows, that's not her job, necessarily, to stop an active addict from using drugs in that moment. Her job was just to stay on the phone for a second and say she loves me and that there's a place for me still to come to. So she told me, I love you, don't die. And that might not seem like a lot, but for someone to care about whether I lived or died was insane to me. It hit me so hard, and I don't know if it hit me right in the moment, but I thought about that and I still think about that. And I used, and that night when I was driving home, and I was driving home under the influence, I wanted to swerve off the bridge I was driving off. And then all of a sudden it hit me, after I was going through the motions, that I actually didn't want to die. And I had not had that feeling in years. I had been suicidal since I was a teenager, and I truly, when it felt like death was close, I finally admitted to myself I didn't want to die. I had gotten a peek into other people's lives and what it would be like if I lived a clean life. And I thought, this is fucking possible for you. Stop doing this. Work the program. You're making it worse for yourself. And I just convinced myself in that moment that I had to do something different if I wanted to live. Because if I kept using, I would not be alive today. I know that for a fact. And so finally, after, waiting months to get a sponsor and calling her one time, and that one time was just to tell her I was going to use, I decided to use that sponsor. And after that night, that is the last time I ever used drugs, and that was February 9th, 2020. And it's just been a crazy ride ever since then. And sponsorship was huge in my early recovery, and it helped me prioritize the things that mattered and the things that would help me. We were on the phone daily. She really recommended that I get involved in service, and that's what I did. I took every suggestion that she said. And if you're wondering, how can you put staying clean your priority, how does that come first? It's just being involved in the program, right? It's being involved in your recovery. It's taking action. It's not being being complacent. And it's also about the surrender on a daily basis. And it doesn't have to be a prayer. I do not pray every single day, I surrender to this disease. I say to myself, and I've never done a 10th step, but it's similar to that daily inventory. Do I need a meeting? Do I need to call my sponsor? Do I need to call a friend? Do I need to be involved in service? And take it from there. And that, prioritizing that helps keep me in line. Because I can go off the rails at any moment. That's always a possibility. So prioritizing the things in recovery that really matter, that keep me at ease and at a spiritual grounding, that's the stuff I need to maintain on a daily and weekly and monthly basis. I always have to take a look at myself and how my recovery is in that moment, because it's all a flux. I go through waves where I am only going to 2 meetings a week, and that's really not good. And my service commitments aren't really fulfilling me right now. It's kind of the same old ring around the rosy and Sometimes it's about trying something new. Sometimes it's about trying to call a new person, get a new perspective. And so it's always at a flux where sometimes I just need to switch it up, and sometimes I need to dial it back because I can get a little, take on too much at once. And so sponsorship was really great for me in early recovery. It was great for me at year 1, year 2, year 3. Like, it's never been anything but amazing. Having a sponsor, being a sponsor, it's the heartbeat of this program, and like to have someone I can trust to hear me and guide me to the solution is great, because I don't have the same sponsor, but what my sponsor does now and what every other sponsor has done in the past, it's like, instead of just telling me what to do, because I have a defiant personality, I don't do well with that. I've always been very I didn't like being told what to do as a kid. They ask me questions. And my sponsor now is specifically very good at asking the right questions of why are you feeling this way? What really brought you to this point, and how do we get through this? And these simple questions that helps me come up with the solution, and even in my own head, I didn't know it was possible for me to come up with it on my own. And she brings me there, she guides me there. And there's always she has some incredible suggestions herself that I would never ever come to my own conclusion of, because my mind just isn't as evolved as hers is yet. But someday I'll get there, hopefully. But really, it's great to have a sponsor who, is a little older than me. It doesn't have to be older than you, but has more experience and has worked this program in more depth than I have, so she can lead me through her experiences. And it's so special. I'm really so happy with sponsorship, and to have that special relationship. What other thing in life really offers that to you? If I want this sponsor for the rest of my life, that could happen. I mean, maybe not the rest of my life. No one can decide that. But there never has to be a point where I have to say, why I have to choose another sponsor if we just let our relationship continue the way it is. That is a solid person in my life that I can rely on and be accountable for and love, and I just don't think that there's a lot of experiences in life outside of 12-step fellowships that are like that. So I feel very grateful to have a sponsor and to be a sponsor to other women. I will say about service, in my eyes, I think it's the most selfless thing you can do. And I say selfish because even if you were doing it completely selflessly, service is going to help you in some way. It always helps me. And even if I don't want any part of it to serve me, and I'm doing it because I was asked, not because I have to prove anything, it's still going to serve me. And service has always been that way for me, where I learned we do service to help the next person, and that's how this program operates. And without it, it would be a mess. And so why would I take without giving back to a program that has given me everything? And so I feel endowed to this program. I always hope to feel that I owe Narcotics Anonymous something, so I can always give back. Oh God, lost my train of thought. I had no interest in coming here today to be a speaker, and there was a moment where I thought I didn't have to speak when I got here, and I was almost very relieved. But then I, kind of just let it happen, let the people decide, and whatever it was going to be, and I really am glad I get the experience of telling my story, and like it's a learning experience for me. That's what I get from this, and like maybe it'll help someone in the room. That's what I get to give. So it always feels like interchangeable. Like the service goes both ways for me. And I think that's a great thing. It's okay to be a little selfish, and like you don't have to call it selfish if you don't want to. Again, this is just how I see things. I'm grateful to be here, but I do have to admit, I do have a gambling issue, and I have been in. I've been clean of gambling for 18 months, and I developed this gambling addiction at 3 years clean, and it was the thing that brought me the closest to using, and it ruined my life in a very different way that drugs had ruined my life, because I could function, I could get away with no one knowing. It was very different, like, because I wouldn't look different. There were no physical signs of showing what I was doing. But the consequences, they felt more severe than when I was using drugs. Because at that point, when I was using drugs, I didn't care about what I was losing. I was apathetic to everything. So when I realized that I was getting closer and closer to using because I was acting out in my addiction in very awful, dirty ways. And I tried to be honest with my sponsor. I tried to share about it at meetings, but I really was lying the whole time. I was manipulating the whole time. You know, it wasn't easy to get honest when you didn't want to stop. But it wasn't until I did my second, fourth step. And I'm not saying that because I've been through the 12 steps. I've just had a lot of different sponsors, so I've started the 1, 2, 3, 4 a couple of times, which helps me feel like I have a good foundation in the steps. But doing a fourth step and really focusing on the gambling and the patterns and the behaviors and my part in it and other people's, like how people were affected by it, it really became clear to me that it was only going to end in like despair or freedom. And I wanted to choose freedom. I wanted it so bad. And it took a while to stop. It really did. But today, I have 18 months off gambling. I banned myself from New Jersey casinos. So even though I'm here and like it feels like I'm scratching something that's not too good, like I can't itch the scratch, that I can't do it anyways because I took my recovery seriously and I put my recovery first. So I did something I didn't exactly want to do, but I knew I had to do, and that's what recovery must come first. That's what staying clean must come first has to mean. It means you have to be willing to do things that you don't necessarily want to do, but you know you have to do in order to stop this awful disease from taking place, because it's an insidious, cunning disease that has the capabilities of ruining lives, ending lives, and if I let it go there, I don't know if I'll ever stop. I got lucky, even though it took me a while to get clean. I was so lucky that I was eventually able to get to that point that I could stop. But that was not a given. You have to work to get to that point. You have to be willing to be open-minded, honest, and willing. Without those principles, it's just a dark, deep hole. And I hope to never be in that dark, deep hole again. I know I don't have to. Narcotics Anonymous will never give up on me, and I really hope to never give up on it, because it has given me a life that is so worth living. And I'm going to wrap it up with this because it's about to end and I'm so happy. I can't believe the life I have today. I can't believe the woman I am today. I wouldn't say I'm an arrogant woman, but I think very highly of myself, and I think that's a good trait. And I know for a fact Narcotics Anonymous has given me the self-esteem because I was taught to do self-esteemable actions, and I'm so glad about having people in this program show me the way on how to live a clean life of recovery. Without the people in these rooms, I would never be able to figure it out by myself. Never alone. I never have to do this alone. People are here to stay. I'm here to stay, and this program means so much to me. I'm so happy I get to be at a NA convention. I hope the rest of you have a great time, a great rest of your weekend. This is really, truly something special. And yeah, my name is Kat Manatic. Thanks for letting me share.